sponsored by DJI.
All right, I think I'm allowed to say this. So I've been making videos for like 15 plus years now, and there's something actually kind of counterintuitive that happens on YouTube where people are more drawn to almost like lower production value videos. Like obviously big lights and cameras and everything are super fun, but people just want to see real life, like what's happening in front of you with whatever camera you have with you. So while I'm a huge video nerd and I've graduated a few times from my first camera to my first DSLR to a cinema camera, and these cameras actually get like harder and harder to use, but I actually want to get back more into shooting just like more places, just more spontaneously and more experiences and more locations, not just the talking head stuff that we've gotten really good at. It's still fun, but like we want to just get out more, you know? So anyway, the sort of apex for that gear is, you might have thought I was gonna say smartphones, but it's like an action camera like this, like it's even smaller. It can go everywhere with you. It's more rugged. It can shoot everything all the time. And that got me thinking, well, it's been almost 10 years since I got into these action cameras. How good are the best ones now? Like you might remember when we strapped one onto Mac that one day and got the perspective of being a dog in 4K. That was 2014. So similar to that, this one also isn't a review, but this one is sponsored by DJI, and they've got this, their newest, latest and greatest, highest end action camera into my hands. So this is the Action 5 Pro. And I figured I'd use this to take a deeper look at the tech that's gonna hopefully enable more of this more freestyle shooting that I do in 2025. So the first obvious advantage of the action camera is just how tough it's built, because yes, we know smartphones can do an incredible job with video too, but I don't know about you, I'm just not trying to risk my phone in all these precarious scenarios where it would be cool to get an angle, or you put the camera someplace where it could fall or get smacked around or take a beating, because that's my phone. So this has always been true since the beginning. I mean, this thing is airtight, it's built like a tank, it's waterproof to 20 meters with no case needed, much better than most smartphones. And then it's also super temperature resistant, so it can operate anywhere from -20 Celsius to 45 Celsius. I'll also put the Fahrenheit on the screen for y'all, but no freezing or overheating in any of these temperatures, which is kind of nuts. So being more durable and smaller than any smartphone is a pretty obvious advantage to the action camera in a lot of situations. But the other thing about these things is they've gotten a lot of usability upgrades over the years. So I remember back in the day, these used to just be back screens, which is kind of like point and shoot and cross your fingers if you were on the other side. But now they've all got these dual screens, so you've got a screen on the front and on the back, which is really convenient for framing things up in either direction. And then this one also happens to have these high brightness OLED screens, so even if it's outside or something super bright, I can use both screens. And since it's a touchscreen and it's actually usable, I can flip through settings and adjust things and get my framing right on either side. It's actually very useful. So this actually levels up in one other way. It has a feature that I think should be more common than it is, which is internal storage. So this camera has 47 gigs of internal storage. Hold on, Zuri. Which means it's saved me a couple times already where I forget to go get a memory card, but I still have enough storage built in to record. Petition for all cameras to have that. I think they should all do it. They should all have internal recording so they can just record whenever, and if I have a card, then I can record more. So this is 47 gigs, it's 2 hours. I'm good for a while. All right, run free. Go explore. Battery life is very solid, up to 4 hours nonstop recording if you turn the screen off. And then DJI has a similar clever charge that they have with their drones, basically where if you put all of the batteries in this case and then charge the case, it just tops each of them up. And the camera itself actually will quick charge if you just plug it right in with USB-C. I don't have a wattage, but I plugged it in at 0 and it got to 20% in 4 minutes, and then it was full in 40. There's also a pressure sensor, so you can tell at any time how deep underwater you are or how high of an altitude you're at, if that's what you're interested in shooting. And also then there's just a bunch of accessories for it, for building out and shooting whatever angle, whatever subject you want. So maybe something kind of weird like this. Give me a second. I would normally not at all be comfortable putting my phone out in front of me hitting golf balls like this, but it's kind of a cool angle. Oh, was close. Probably one of the best things about this camera is it attaches to any accessory you want via this magnetic quick release system at the bottom, which has been pretty standardized with this thing for the past few years. I think other companies are starting to follow along too. Matter of fact, the benefits of this one specifically, since it's made by DJI, it's directly compatible with other things DJI also makes, like their newest mics, the Mic 2. So you can pair that easily straight to the action cam and get scratch audio from the built-in microphones. On top of all of that, it actually plug and plays as a webcam. So when you plug it in, the options come up, select webcam, and it actually levels up a lot of people's webcam experiences, which is pretty sick. Just remember to brush the dust off of it before you actually do. But it's gotta look good. Like, the whole point of this is that you have this camera everywhere with you, but that the footage actually looks good. So none of this matters if the footage doesn't look good. So this action cam in 2024 has one of the best. It has a 1/1.3 inch sensor that can shoot up to 4K at 120 FPS slow-mo if you want to. There are a couple other high-end smartphones out right now with roughly the same size sensor. I actually think 1/1.3 inches is the same as the Galaxy S23 Ultra, so that's a good example. So big enough to gather plenty of light, is an f2.8 lens, and then on top of that, since it's a dedicated camera, yes, it can shoot log. It's got a 10-bit D-Log M, it's got HLG, so that you can get even more dynamic range to mess with in editing after the fact. Of course, you can always just shoot normal mode if you want, but if you ever want that extra range, it's just a quick flip away on the touchscreen settings. And it has one of the widest fields of view. This is the thing about action cameras, is they get super wide, but this one is 155 degrees. So it gives you a ton of room to work with if you want to shoot in the most ultra-wide mode, but there's also less distortion in the more cropped modes, depending on what you're shooting. It's actually plenty wide enough to shoot first-person stuff like driving, for example, in normal mode, or driving, for example. No distortion needed. So that brings me to my last point, which is just bang for the buck. Like a tiny camera like this that you can take everywhere is gonna be cheaper than a smartphone that you put at risk all the time that you actually use for your phone. So this camera starts at $349, and also let's not forget the internal storage that it comes with. So you can pick one of these up and however many accessories and mounts and things you want and run around outside and beat it up and put it at risk all the time, and then at the end of the day, if it's still fine, bring it back and use it as a webcam if you want. So I think the main thing that I've taken away from all of the fun that I've had with these little cameras is, you know, there's that famous quote, I don't know who said it, but the best camera is the one you have with you. You always hear that quoted everywhere. And I think I've been leaning into that more because of how often I don't have my camera with me. Like the cinema camera, the super high-end, the Red camera. There are a ton of instances that I can recall of, like, say I'm doing a tech review and there's something really cool that happens on a device, or maybe like a shooting scenario with a smartphone camera, and I can kind of just tell you after the fact about what happened instead of actually having the camera to point at it and show you. I want to just have the camera with me more often and just be able to show you the thing. So what I'm definitely not saying is that I'm like done with, you know, the super high-end fun cameras. I still love them. There's a reason why we shoot so much stuff with the Reds and in the studio, and that will always have its place. But what my goal is, going forward especially, is to have the camera with me more often. Obviously I'll have my smartphone in my pocket, but just having a camera all the time everywhere, whether it's in my pocket or in my bag or whatever, so that when that shooting scenario comes up, I can capture it and that can actually go in the video. That's what I'm trying to do. Hopefully you're with me on that, and hopefully you're down to see those videos when they come out. Also, if you want to see that video, that'll be on the Autofocus channel pretty soon. It's a pretty crazy one. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.